Please welcome our superhero sponsor, Innovate, with their team of F&O superheroes, Ryan Grant, new business sales leader, and Kevin Armstrong, global enterprise strategy leader. Today, they will be saving the day by presenting their session, Real Talk to Real Action. Choose your D365 F&O cloud adventure. Stick around after for a live Q&A with some real-life heroes.
Hello and welcome to our session, Real Talk to Real Action. Choose your D365 F&O adventure. We're happy to be a part of DynamicsCon 2021 here and looking forward to sharing this great information with you. I'd like to quickly introduce myself. My name is Kevin Armstrong and I am our global enterprise strategy leader at Innovate. Over 20 years in this industry, and I've had the good fortune to be able to work with our clients and other partners over the years and helping to facilitate a journey to improve their own efficiencies and overcome our clients' risks and ultimately get to their outcomes. So I'm really looking forward to having this dialogue with you today. Ryan?
Hey, and my name is Ryan Grant. Happy to be here with you today as well. I've been in the Dynamics channel for well over 20 years, doing anything you could imagine from implementations and consulting, support, sales, advising clients, and really happy to be here with you talking about taking action on your next step with technology.
So Innovate, we are very happy to be to support the event here today and provide you with our guidance on this journey that you're on. At Innovate, we transform businesses and the lives they touch because to us it's personal. Our company was founded about 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago now. We have over 400 team members and well over 2,000 clients across the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem, from the legacy GP, SL, Nav, and AX customer bases to D365, BC, and F&O. One thing that we're very proud of is we have a 5.0 Glassdoor score. That matters to us because that means our team members are happy. And if you take care of your team members, most often they take care of our clients. So one thing I want to remind you about is we are doing a wonderful promotion, I think, for any of you who are seeing this video. Please go to innovate.com/adventure for a chance to win a home theater package. It's a great package. I mean, I think any of you, especially in these times where we're streaming content all the time, great place to show those movies that are coming out, but a home theater package. And by the way, it's open to our visitors as well as our existing clients. So please go to innovate.com/adventure and follow the hints to answer those 5 questions correctly. And please also look at the terms and conditions for the contest rules. So what will you discover in today's session? We're going to talk about our new reality. Life happens. The world changes. Things change around us. The economy changes. We're going to talk about our new reality. We're going to talk about your approach, which is, do you make decisions as a stopgap or as a strategy? We're going to talk to you about your cloud journey, harnessing the power of change for you and your environment. We're going to talk about exploring offers, templated solutions, and even tax benefits. That's an important section for those of you who have decisions that are coming up because we want you to be able to take advantage of everything that you have available to you in the marketplace. We're going to then talk about, if you don't believe us, believe them, believe what our clients have experienced. And ultimately we'll talk about having a more human approach to ERP and the cloud.
Yes, and that brings us to our session, which is Life Happens, the New Reality, Real Talk to Real Action with Innovate. And before we move into that, and I hand it off to Kevin, just a quote for you to think about. The possibilities are numerous once we decide to act and not react. Oftentimes we end up in a situation where we're very proactive into how we deal with technology. There's a lot of reasons for that. But once we decide to act, there's a lot of different ways that we can go to make ourselves and our companies successful.
Yeah, Ryan, and when you're faced with challenges out there in the world and you're talking about taking things in your own hands and making decisions to move forward, very often your approach to that challenge matters. Are you making a decision as a stopgap or as a core strategy? Now, a stopgap is more often a temporary way of dealing with a challenge, whereas a strategy is when you put a plan in place or a policy in place, and it's designed very specifically to achieve a goal. There's risks with both, and there's benefits with both. We're seeing a lot of stopgaps out in the marketplace, and we often talk about leaders versus laggards out in the industry. And a leader doesn't put a stopgap in place. A leader puts a plan in place and uses strategy to guide them on their decisions. For laggards, those who are trying to keep up with their industry or their competition, they put stopgaps in place. And a stopgap is typically a rushed decision. You often hear the term knee-jerk decision. Short-term solutions and workarounds like that are typically give you short-term results, and then you end up right back where you are. So, you really want to see that as you're taking a look, especially at your, ERP as a whole. We're talking about D365 F&O here today. It's the lifeblood of your organization. So you really want to have a strategic approach to making decisions there, because if you do that, then you're building a technology roadmap for the organization. You're able to capitalize on anything that's in market because you've already planned for it. And then ultimately, you take a much more cost-effective approach to solving your business challenges.
Yeah, and I know for sure that stopgaps for me personally often cause my anxiety to rise because you're not always looking forward, but you're trying to deal with an immediate problem that's going on and how to solve it, as opposed to seeing success and actually executing on strategy. Which brings us to this part here, which is what D365 Finance and Operations can do for you. And you're going to hear it called a lot of different things. You're going to hear it called Finance and Operations. There's Finance and Supply Chain. In the SMB market, there's Business Central. What's important here is to understand all of the components, the workloads that go into making this a full ERP solution. Some organizations want to do everything at once. Maybe they're coming from an SAP where they're doing a lot of this stuff in the ERP today. We would look at this and figure out, hey, what workloads do we need to put in day one to make sure that you're successful? Some organizations are coming from ERP systems where they're doing a lot of stuff manually still. They may have separate systems for fixed assets. They maybe have separate systems for expense. We can then figure out from this, what do we want to do around a phased approach to get you out of that old system, out of the server in the basement, if you will, if you're running on one of the legacy Dynamics products, and into something now, so you can start to harness the power of change with the cloud, and then figure out how to phase in those other workloads. I mentioned fixed assets. I mentioned expense. Maybe credit collections is something you're not doing at all today, but there's going to be immediate impact on your business by adding that into the ERP day one. We would look at that with you to figure out, hey, how do we do this day one so that now we can get those manual workloads out and get something automated into the system for you so that you can save time, money, and effort. And in this one, this is showing the enhancements, right? So Dynamics is a great system because of the fact that Microsoft puts out a core product that does a lot. And then they rely on partners like us to make sure that we can go out and fill in some industry specific pieces here. So when you start looking at what's on this slide, we've highlighted a couple workloads of what I would call, number one, the ecosystem. And Kevin's going to talk about some of the things in the middle here in a moment. But when you start looking at cloud solutions, as an example, we're migrating from, GP to F&O, as an example there. You may have other cloud workloads that you're running on other servers, and you need to get those up into Azure. You don't want to maintain backups and disaster recovery plans and all those kinds of things for your own hardware anymore. So we can look at moving those other pieces along with the finance application into the cloud. I'm going to jump down to the bottom corner and then let Kevin talk about the rest. VinPoint, as an example, is what I would call a micro vertical. So it's part of distribution and manufacturing, but it's a specific wine solution. We have other beverage solutions as well that are built and enhance the core functionality of Dynamics to do industry specific pieces that are necessary.
Yeah, Ryan. I mean, you started with cloud. You talked about an industry vertical there at the end with Vimpoint. I mean, I think there's a lot going on when you're making a decision to move to D365. Back to your cloud comment. I think it's a very valuable point that you're making, which is if you're deciding to go to D365, you're talking about a solution that's already in the cloud. However, you probably have a legacy environment. You probably have other solutions that are on-premise that interact with your legacy on-premise environment. So looking at solutions about how do I wrap those, all of those solutions into a cloud environment, into probably a hybrid cloud environment, you have to have the expertise, and that's where the partner comes into play. We have a extremely talented team of cloud specialists who can help you to design the right profile, and even look at virtual desktop and all of the other, disaster recovery, all of the different elements that you need to have to make sure that your cloud data flows properly and gives you the top performance that you absolutely need. One misunderstood point about moving to a SaaS solution is that you don't really need much cloud support because the solution's in the cloud. Well, when you're talking about ERP, it's the heartbeat of your organization. Everything flows in there. It touches your entire organization. So you typically would see other workloads that need to interact there. So I definitely would recommend having a discussion with a cloud specialist around your data profiles, which leads into Power BI. The Power BI overall, let's face it, nobody wakes up wanting to implement an ERP solution, right? Nobody. I love what we do. I love working with our clients, but I know in working with a CFO and a CEO and businesses around the world that it is a very difficult, challenging thing. But why are these systems so important? They're important because of the data that we interact with and the insights that data provides us with. Can't tell you how many organizations that I meet with who own Microsoft solutions that are still leveraging, older reporting methods, even the most common ERP product in the world, which is Excel. Which is not an ERP platform, but it's used as one more frequently than it probably should be. Power BI is something that comes out of the box with these solutions that you should be leveraging daily. Better insights, better actions, better outcomes. So definitely have to take advantage of Power BI. On top of that, Power BI is a part of the Power Platform. So you've got Power Automate, Power Flow, you've got Power Apps that you've got the ability to use. In the past, we've been leveraging additional solutions, enhancements to the products in areas where you might need them. But what Power Apps in particular has given us is the ability to write low code, no code solutions to maybe a niche challenge that you face out in your business. Maybe there's a remote worker that has to input certain data and just interact with a very small amount of data. Instead of buying a solution for that, you can build a Power App that will automatically interface with your back-end systems. It is becoming a very common part of how businesses are planning when they're getting into their ERP implementations. And then when you get to the partner side of it, our real job, other than to help you get across that finish line, which is our most important job, our job is to remove your risk and make you feel comfortable, let you sleep at night. But on top of that, it's to enhance these products. And Innovate has multiple solutions in the App Store around advanced distribution to enhance your supply chain capabilities. We've also partnered with an organization on a solution called Builder, which is for construction companies. It is a phenomenal product in an industry where there is such a large gap. There are many, many long-time products in that space that have not been updated in a long, long time. So legacy technology, disconnected systems. So our job is to make the product meaningful for you and your environment. And I know Ryan mentioned Vimpoint. So if you look at what's in it for you on this cloud journey, there's a number of different things, and I'll be more brief on this one than I was on the last topic, but data protection. So often we hear, hey, I don't need to go to the cloud right now. I'm good. I've got my servers. They're sitting in my hall down the way here. And my cousin Vinny here, he comes in and looks at my systems. The first time I ask him to tell me when the last time they did a backup was, and they come back to me and they tell me, oh my gosh, it's been 3 years. That's a problem, right? So, you've got the protection of that data. Should you go down, should there be an issue, the ability to keep us from, security and compliance is another data point on here, keep us from being hacked and dealing with it if you are. How do you deal with all of these different risks in the cloud? You have to have a partner that really knows how to navigate this stuff. Somebody who's able to plan around any changes or updates that you make, a new implementation being a big one, and provide you with business continuity, right? How do you do that? That's very important. Your business cannot be disrupted because you're choosing to leverage additional technology. Last one I'll talk about, and then I'll let Ryan talk about a couple of these, is distributed workforce. Who knew coming into a year ago from now, we were just coming into a time period that we didn't know how long it was going to last. We were used to flying all over the place, or driving to meet with our clients, or meeting in person. Our team members in various industries were out in the field doing their thing. Well, we've got a distributed workforce now who are using varying devices, who are not tethered to a desk, or at least not a desk in an office. So you've got to have the ability to provide your data and your solutions in an environment where your team members can access that data on any device at any time in any place that they need to do, to use that data in order to do their jobs. Ryan, you want to talk about cost savings and the user experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're looking at being able to run what you're running today on-premise software, perpetual license software, hardware doesn't last forever, right? We know that. I know firsthand. We used to own a business trying to take care of our own servers, doing ERP for clients. And I was the guy that was responsible for the servers in the basement to make sure that we had the backups going, the virus software going, and all those kinds of things. Things break, things happen, and it's expensive to fix. When your business runs on it, you have to focus on that and make sure that it's taken care of and it's running the way that it should. Being able, not having to worry about the hardware any longer, the spinning disks, making sure that the backups are running, all those kinds of things. There is an investment when you move to the cloud, but longer term, it absolutely saves you money. There's no doubt about it. And end user experience is phenomenal. Kevin mentioned working from home, extended workforce, all those kinds of things. When I'm working through a web browser, as an example, to run F&O, the navigation, the way I get there, I don't have to worry about making sure there's shortcuts on my desktop for that thick client to go hit the server and do all those kinds of things. Everyone knows how to use Chrome. Everyone knows how to use Edge. We're Googling stuff all day and doing web searches all day. To be able to run your ERP through that type of an interface is just amazing. Not to mention the fact that Microsoft's done an amazing job making sure that all their applications are navigate very similar to how you work with Outlook, as an example, and Excel. We all know how to do that like the back of our hand. Making the move to something like finance and supply chain or finance and operations, it's amazing how fast people pick it up from that user experience perspective.
So let's explore some of the offers and solutions and benefits out there in the ecosystem, so that if you are in a process of making a decision, you can begin to really take advantage of some of them. So Ryan, the first one that we've got, Innovate is bringing to you the ability to do a free whiteboarding session. One of the things that I'm finding is, due to the pandemic, due to decision times being put on hold, decisions being put on hold and timelines taking a lot longer, there's a lot of pent-up demand. There's a lot of pent-up stress. Let us help you with that. Let us give you a little bit of our time and our expertise. Let us bring a combination of ERP, business experts, and cloud experts to the table to have a business dialogue. I'm not talking about how many users do you want to add, how do you cut a check, yes, I want to talk about your order to cash process or something unique to the business, but I want to talk about your business. Let Innovate come in, work with you on a business transformation roadmap, and be able to help you identify and remove obstacles that might be holding you back. This is important because a lot of our competitors out there in the marketplace will very quickly show you a demo and give you a price. But if you're not ready for that, if you don't have a good, strong plan in place, heading into an ERP implementation can be a very challenging endeavor. Ryan?
Kevin, you mentioned earlier what gets us out of bed in the morning. ERP is difficult. I love doing these kind of sessions. Being able to sit down with business owners and people that are responsible for running organizations to have a conversation around how we can help make your business better. It doesn't, I don't even want to talk software. I want to talk business. Like Kevin said, I love those kind of conversations. These sessions are a lot of fun for us to be able to run with you. Around the Microsoft offers, so most of you are probably on Dynamics AX today. Some of you may be on GP, SL, NAV, looking to the future. For many years, you've paid enhancement fees, renewals, to make sure that you're getting service packs and updates as they're released, new versions of that specific software so you can upgrade. Microsoft is well aware of the investment that you've made in that product over time. So they do have some offers out there, and one of them specifically is to be able to make sure that that investment is being recognized as you migrate from a on-premise perpetually licensed system into the cloud, with named users instead of concurrent users. So they have some conversions that they can do based off of what your software value is, the number of licenses that you have, to be able to give you licensing in Dynamics 365 that makes sense for you and your organization. So there's discounts offered around that for certain terms. They do a license conversion, and I can't remember off the top of my head. It's different depending on the product, but let's just say 3 named users for the 1 concurrent that you have. So they're working really hard to make sure that your investment is understood and recognized, and that it makes sense for you to be able to capitalize on the move from GPSL, NAV, or AX into something like FNO or FNSC.
Yeah, and on top of that, what do we do to make it better? In the end, our job is to, number one, inform you of what's going on out in the marketplace in terms of offers that you can take advantage of, provide you with a consultant or a series of consultants who can be your concierge through the process, help you make the most of your implementation, do the assessment that we talked about, help you with that. Really take a look at your legacy environment and make sure that we're working together to figure out what the best plan of attack is. Help you put a sandbox environment in place. If you move to D365 F&O, it's going to be a little while before you're live. So how do we take maybe your old environment, put that into a virtual cloud environment, manage that for you, give you a sandbox for D365, and allow you to be doing a more agile approach to implementing. Get your hands in it, be using the environment, and really come up to speed faster. And very importantly, provide you with ongoing support.
So what does that migration readiness assessment look like? So what we want to do is understand what you're using today and how you're using it. It's one thing just to say I'm running, AX and I want to move to F&O. That's great. What kinds of applications are you using? What kinds of modules are you using? What ISVs do you have going on? We do want to know the number of users and the number of companies, because we need to understand the size of the type of project that we're talking about. But it's really about understanding not just the application, but all the things that surround that. How do we do it? So we want to be able to go in, and we do this through conversations. We do this by, in some instances, installing a tool set to be able to capture real-time data of how you're using the system. Nothing proprietary. We don't want to know about your data. We want to understand how it's being used, the modules that are being interacted with, all those kinds of pieces of software. And then the queries, being able to understand the database. Is it modified? How is it modified? What kinds of objects are modified? Custom code, custom reporting, all those kinds of things. The outcome from that is for us to be able to identify your risks and how we would remedy those, and recommended solutions. We would outline a framework of what that would look like. We would recommend the migration path. What would it look like for you to move from that into the cloud? I mentioned earlier, it's not just the application. You may have other things running on that server that are important. And if that server goes away, we need to understand how to account for those when you move into a cloud-based ERP. And what are the steps to get there, as well as your total cost of ownership. So what are you spending today, through enhancements and hardware costs, time from your employees, your team members, and how does that compare and save you time, energy, and money as you move into the cloud?
Ultimately, we also want to help you work with the enhancements and the products that you've become very familiar with and have been your lifeblood. We have an extensive relationship with the ISV community around the products that you can add to your D365 environment, some of which may or may not be necessary when coming from a legacy environment. One thing I will tell you is that Innovate has a relationship with all of these ISV partners, and many of them, to prepare for their move to the cloud, leverage our cloud expertise and our development capabilities to get them ready for D365. So we have some of the best relationships with these products that enhance your environment out there in the world. And Ryan, I'd like to talk very briefly about the next offering that we've got out there in the marketplace, which is, one of the things that we hear very frequently is we can't do this project because we don't have enough budgeted for this, or budgets are on hold because of the pandemic. Well, guess what? Money is available right now at a very low rate. I talk to CFOs all the time who said we don't borrow money. But here's the thing. We're also seeing a trend towards organizations that are saying, instead of putting these projects on hold, how can I leverage relatively inexpensive financing options to do not just this project, but more? Schedule out the next 18 to 24 months, tackle more, but keep my cash burn to a minimum. Cash is king. You have to keep it in play. If you don't have a lender, we do, and they are phenomenal at working with our clients to give them the capital that they need to fund these projects. And we're seeing a vast increase in people who are taking advantage of this. I know, Ryan, you have some tax benefits too that you've seen helping our clients out.
I do. And what's funny about this part of the conversation to me is we hear this all the time, right? And it actually, in a lot of instances, will cost more money to stay where you're at than it will to make a switch, which brings us into the Section 179 conversation. A lot of you are probably familiar with this already, and hopefully have taken advantage of it in the past. Over the last couple of years, the IRS has actually increased the amount that can be written off for technology investment in your organization. We did a deal last year for a client of ours to move, I can't remember what ERP they were on. It was a non-Dynamics platform, moving into Dynamics 365. They actually saved money. They were cash positive the first 2 years by utilizing Section 179 to be able to finance not just the software, but the services for the project. I believe the limit, at least last year, was somewhere around $1 million that you could write off. So it's an amazing way to be able to capture some savings and take advantage of some of the things that are out there to be able to save some money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the time is now to modernize. We really want to be able to work with you to help to tackle these challenges. These offers that Microsoft has put into the marketplace, plus the things that we've put into the marketplace, assessments and whiteboarding sessions and whatnot, if you need to migrate and if you've got it on the horizon, there's never been a better time. Use the times we're in as an advantage to you. If it's because if you're seeing the challenges because of a lack of budget or a lack of cash flow or whatever it is, you got to just step out there, work with a partner like Innovate, make the decision, to tackle the challenges that you see in your business. You need to migrate. Your systems are dated. Maybe they're reaching end of life. You need to be more agile, right? You identified that you're at risk from either from a technical perspective or from a business perspective. The pandemic has even changed the way that a lot of people have to operate. So maybe you've identified that your systems don't even serve you that well anymore. Ultimately, you've identified that you have a problem. So what are my options? I mean, ultimately, obviously, you have the option to migrate. Choose to migrate from a legacy solution or from AX to D365. There's a number of ways to do that, though. And I often hear people talk about the challenges of a large-scale ERP implementation. What we do is typically a waterfall delivery methodology in our space. But why not do it in a more agile manner? Why not have a plan that says, let me get my finance in order and let me get that stood up in a shorter period of time, and then I can handle my supply chain, and then I can handle another part of my business. Why not get a sandbox environment set up early on before you even begin implementing, so that you can train, so that you can help get up to speed, make better decisions when you're implementing? You do not have to eat the elephant in one bite, right? So I would look at limited scope, take the implementation and break it into parts so that you can get moving on it faster rather than feel like you have to do the whole thing. phased implementations very much work. Look at private cloud or Azure cloud, right? If you've got a legacy environment, and maybe one step, if you're on a legacy AX environment, would be to move it into a private cloud. Begin the process of having that D365 sandbox up and running and be planning for what you're going to do in the next 18 to 24 months. Using virtual desktop infrastructure, VDI. Talk to our cloud specialists about how do I wrap VDI around my operations and really give my team members the ability to operate in a distributed environment. There's a number of different things you can focus on there, but ultimately there's a lot of ways to do it. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, and being able to recognize the obstacles that are in your path, being able to reduce the duration and effort to transition to D365. What the costs and from the on-premise into subscription, removing the risk of unplanned migration costs, being able to get it deployed quickly and efficiently, making sure that you've got the lowest price by configuring through template-based implementations, Lego blocks, if you will, for being able to build and phase this in. Unplanned business impact. If we can plan right during the implementation, we will limit the impact to your business through trial migration, proper testing, and all those pieces that are a part of a good project. And then, of course, dual use rights for your existing on-premise ERP. So one of the things that we can do in a lot of instances is make sure that we can start to do that trial work and get you going in D365, but we're not going to impact what you're doing on your legacy system today.
Yeah, and on this topic, Ryan, and I know we're about to talk about our clients, but in the end, what we're trying to say is the obstacles out there that you feel may not be as prevalent as you think they are, and we would be happy to help you remove them, because in the end, you don't want to be standing on the sideline. You want to be in the game, playing the game hard, and working to win. So don't stay on the sidelines, jump in, and let's tackle these problems together. So Ryan, you were switching to the next section, which is very briefly, if you don't believe us, believe them. Let's talk about a couple of client scenarios that might be good to illustrate the challenges. So the first challenge, we're talking a multi-billion-dollar organization that has a large footprint of Oracle in North America, and they're an acquisitive company, so they were acquiring a footprint around the world. And they were finding that there was a legacy Dynamics platform in many of the countries that they were working in. This is a client that felt challenged with how do I roll out with all of these legacy platforms out there and then ultimately move towards D365. And the answer to that was develop a template, a blueprint, and develop a country by country approach and help them move first to AX 2012 R3 and then to Dynamics 365 F&O. And FNSC. It's a phased implementation. It's happening country by country, tackling each of the challenges there. They've leveraged our team as an extension of their own. And really what they've done is, instead of continuing to invest in hundreds of millions of dollars that they've spent on the Oracle platform from an enterprise perspective, they've really taken control of this legacy solution base that they had out there that they already own. And now they're migrating for a much lower cost and a much shorter timeline into the D365 ecosystem via the long-term relationship with Innovate.
Yeah, perfect. And this story is really around risk avoidance. So we have a large organization that we're working with where we're not actually the partner. They're with another partner implementing D365, and it wasn't moving quite the way that it needed to move. It's a big project, a lot of complexities, a lot of moving pieces that need to be done. So in this situation, we were actually brought in as an extension of the team to be able to help move things quicker, faster, and better than what was happening already. And being able to help lead the project, make sure the right methodology is in place, and really drive those deliverables forward and make sure that the timelines were being met. So we were able to offer experienced staff in D365 finance and supply chain, specifically around wholesale distribution with some IP expertise in there, and really coming in and streamline the way that things were being done. And again, long-term relationship with Innovate here is what we're trying to set up. And we're working right now with this partner and this client to make sure that they are successful with their rollout.
A great example, Ryan. And ultimately, our third example is a client of ours who had it was a difficult implementation. They were implementing with another partner, and they were failing, to be honest with you, with the implementation. And they lacked project management, they lacked leadership, they lacked a methodology. They came to us for our D365 expertise. Initially, they were concerned because they were already overrun on their project. But what we were able to do after we earned their trust was put a long-term, multi-year plan in place. So instead of not tackling the problem, they chose to sign on to a multi-year agreement to be a partner with Innovate in this approach. And in the end, we were able to bring them extremely skilled individuals, some IP, and do a better job of planning and managing the project. These implementations are a partnership, and the three examples that you just heard are long-term relationships that Innovate has been able to build, where we take total responsibility for their outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's really about a more human ERP and cloud experience, like Kevin was saying. A lot of this stuff can be very technical and very specific. We want to bring the personality piece to you, and really partner with you. We don't want to just be your VAR. We don't want to just be the company that helps you with your ERP system. We truly are looking to partner with our clients long-term to help make them better. And that's all about the Innovate experience, beyond traditional methodologies, but really blending innovation, agility, and empathy so that we can empower and make sure that we are getting things done. We want to participate with you in meaningful discussions, strategic planning, whiteboard sessions, like we mentioned. There's always the, hey, this isn't working, we need help with this conversation. But we want to talk to you about 6 months, 18 months, 24 months down the road. What do you want to be doing as a company to be better and more efficient? Oftentimes that may be moving things to the cloud, it may be reporting, it may be leveraging Power BI. I always tell the story that doing implementations early in my career, people would say, hey, we need this report. Well, great, what do you do with it? Well, I 3-hole punch it and put it on that desk behind me. Who looks at it? I have no idea. Awesome. Do you really need it? Let's figure out a way to get that data into your hands real time instead, so that anyone that needs access to it can see it over a web browser, real time, slice and dice it, and really make it your own.
Yeah, the partnership is so important to us. In the end, that we said from the very beginning that we take our relationship with our clients personally. It is personal to us that we help you succeed. How we do that, we listen, we challenge, we collaborate, and we take action. We appreciate the time that you've given us today, and we remind you to make sure that you're going to innovate.com/adventure. Go get into that drawing. Go win this home theater package. I'm very excited that we're able to hand this out to a lucky winner. And again, it is open to visitors and existing clients. So please go to the website and look for the answer the questions properly and take home this great home theater package.
Yeah, perfect. And just quickly, here's our information here. Thanks for joining us today. And we're going to move on to a little bit of Q&A at this time. So go ahead and type in your questions, and we can respond and answer whatever questions you may have. Hello, everyone. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the session that Kevin and I just did. Not able to join us for the live Q&A today, unfortunately, but you get me instead. So I'm just checking out the chat window there to see what questions, and I noticed there's one from Jim. Executives that feel that the ERP should still be hosted in-house. The first thing I would ask is why? Why do you feel that way? What value do you think you get from hosting it on-premise or in-house and being responsible for all of the risks that goes with that? And why not let someone else deal with that for you? Get it up into a subscription, into Azure, at least as an intermediate step before you migrate to Dynamics, so that you can focus on actually running the business. That would be the question that I would ask, and I would absolutely want to dig into that more. We And personally, I have talked with a lot of clients that have felt that they needed to host it in-house for whatever reason, security, peace of mind, whatever it may be. More often than not, they come around and change that. But unfortunately, it's usually after something happens. Ransomware, virus attack, natural disaster that's caused them to not be able to get to their facility to do their backups, all those kinds of things. And now, so now they've got to try to figure out disaster recovery and the pieces that go with that. So instead of being reactive to those situations, what can you do to be proactive, mitigate your risk, and truly focus on what you need to do to run the in addition to that, something else that we were talking about here during the session today, being able to do the roadmap and get the sandbox and do all those kinds of things before you actually start down the path. These are big decisions. ERP decisions are the lifeblood of an organization. That's where everything's going into and business decisions are being made. You really need to plan out your journey there. What it looked like for me this year in 2021. What do I want to be doing in 2022? What size organization are we going to have, 12, 18, 24 months from now? How do I need to prepare for that? With virtual desktop or whatever it may be. There is an absolute continue planning session and strategy that goes with all of that. So another question here looks like says, would you help me if we want to go to D365 in the cloud, but have other applications running in other clouds or on-premise? The answer is yes, absolutely. We need to understand exactly what that means, but it's not just ERP that is a risk for you, right? A lot of times organizations have other pieces of software that are very important to their companies being successful and operating the way that they need to. Are at risk if you're running those on your own servers with your own responsibility. Again, same questions: backups, internet uptime, disaster recovery, viruses, all of those things. So really, as the larger strategy session is put together around ERP and the core application, we would absolutely want to talk about the other pieces that are in play that may be at risk that you would protect as well. And if just wait to see if there's any other questions in there. I can't stress the strategy and the whiteboard pieces enough. Making a move, whether it's from Dynamics GP or Nav into Dynamics 365, could be SL into Dynamics 365. It could be another product outside of the Dynamics solution stack. Again, those are big decisions. You don't want to just jump into those and move without a good plan and I'm comfortable with. It's no secret that a lot of ERP projects fail, and they fail for a lot of reasons. In my opinion, they fail largely because expectations are not aligned between the client and the partner, and there is no long-term strategy in place. So those two things really need to be done to be successful. Doesn't matter what you're coming from or where you're going to. You really need to make sure that you have those in place and that you're comfortable with your partner. We talked a little session about not just being a VAR, but actually being a partner. That's really important to us at Innovate. We're not trying to just get a statement of work signed to come in and deliver services for you. We truly want to help your business evolve and to grow and be scalable and be successful. And the best way that we know how to do that is long-term partnership. I was trying to think if there's anything else here that I want to try to highlight. Well, of course, Kevin ended up our session with the AV system that we're giving away to a lucky recipient. Make sure you go out and sign up for that and get involved in that drawing. I've heard it's pretty amazing. Unfortunately, I don't qualify to be able to win that, but that is okay. Maybe whoever wins it will have a party someday when we're out of this pandemic, and we can all hang out and talk about how successful your ERP project was while we watch some cool movies and enjoy that.
it was a weird year last year, right? There was a lot of companies that kind of paused what they were doing while they figured out what things were going to look like. Pretty optimistic right now as we come out of this, and we move through the summer to start to see some of that investment that people were little scared to do last year really start to happen. And we're really looking forward to helping migrate and move folks to the cloud. Whether it's other workloads, whether it's ERP into Dynamics 365, all of it is exciting for us. We have a great team of individuals that are waiting to help you, of team members that are waiting to help you. So please let us know how we can do that. And I don't see any other questions coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the session today, and enjoy the rest of DynamicsCon. And hopefully I will get a chance to talk with you soon. Have a great day, everyone.